Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to the Dumb Dad Podcast. My name is Kevin, and I'm a dumb dad.
And my name is Evan, and I'm a dumb dad.
I'm Glen. I am a little hesitant to call myself a dumb dad, but I am also a dumb dad.
We'll get to the bottom of it.
We will find a way. Everybody, please welcome our special guest for the podcast this week, Glen Tickle, stand-up comedian. Thank you for joining us, Glen.
Woo!
Oh, thank you for having me, friend. It is
Glen,
great to be here.
Before we get too far into it, prove to us you have two children. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. They are 10 and 5. School started a couple weeks ago, so me and my two kids are homesick today.
Yeah.
And the older one's watching the younger one while I do this, so...
So chaos.
Or do you just want to hear that I'm very tired? I don't know what you're looking for in terms of...
No. This is all correct.
No. It just everyone gets always very curious. Well, how many kids? How old are they? What kind of kids are they? So
People ask us, do you really have kids? Which is a weird one.
that's a weird one. But it's because we never show our
time.
children.
You get
Because
asked,
you never show your kids, right?
Yeah.
You get asked, do
I
you really
brought
have
my
kids?
younger daughter on stage with me for my first album recording.
Yeah, but that could be a paid actor.
Yeah, that could just be any kid. But I regularly do shows, and then afterwards people are like, yeah, but you don't really have kids, right? I'm like, why?
Oh.
Why would I make that up? Like
After
that's-
shows, you get that?
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, I'm 40, but I have like a baby face. So I feel like when I started talking about my kids when I was 30, everyone's like, nah, he doesn't have kids yet. He's like, that's like a 16-year-old. That's why I have the beard. When I shave it, I look like a child.
Same. Yeah, it's strategic.
This is the only way I can get into rated R movies without flashing ID.
Because he so desperately tries to sneak into them all the time.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Glen is from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And that's a joke. Because
I
he
like
do
that
so many
people
specials
are doing
there.
it as a bit now, but for a while, that is just how I would get introduced, but like no sense of irony.
But that's where you did your latest stand-up special, Glen
Yeah.
Tickle versus the World Crime League.
Yeah, it was. I live in New Jersey, but that is the closest place to me where there's like any real comedy scene. So
Okay.
when I started doing open mics and stuff, I couldn't do them at home because there weren't any. So I'd have to drive in there, and then the scene kind of took off where there was this big arts venue that opened up. So they started producing a lot of comedy. There was a casino that opened. They do a lot of comedy shows there.
There you go.
And it was just like, well, I perform there more than anywhere else. So if you follow somebody you've met a couple times on social media, and every other post they're like, hey, I'm going to be, at Steel Stacks in Bethlehem next month, or I'm going to be, at this bar in Bethlehem. You're like, oh, I guess he just lives there.
Yeah, your stand-up special is really good. I think you paint a good picture about where you're from, where you live, growing up, being a dad, and all these things. And I think it's the joke I think you use in your stand-up special is like when you see your teacher as a kid, you're like, you don't live at school.
Yeah.
That's a good example of why people just think you live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, because it's so
I forgot
true.
about that phenomenon as a kid until it happened, where I ran into my kid's teacher at Target with her, and she's like, I recognized the teacher. I was like, oh, do you want to go say hi? She's like, oh, but why is she here? I don't understand. And I'm like,
Yeah.
she's just running errands like we are. And she's like, but this isn't school. So why
I had
would
a similar, the kids are like, we're the ones who go to Target and pick up her stuff. Why does she?
Yeah.
Why is she here?
So wait,
You
why
said we
are
had to
we
get stuff
buying
for her.
pencils for her from Target if she can just do it? Why doesn't she just do it?
Yeah, I remember seeing one of my teachers grocery shopping once, and I was like, was the school food not good enough? Like, what are you doing here? This is insane.
When I was in college, I ran into my third grade teacher. I was grocery shopping with my mom, and she's like, oh, is that your teacher from third grade? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, go say hi. Absolutely not. That lady was my first nemesis. I hold a grudge long after her death. It is still. She's like, what? You're like, I was like 20 at the time. She's like, you're an adult. You need to let this go. She was mean to you once when you were 8. I don't care.
She's the reason you're a comedian, though.
That's right. Yeah, if anything, you should have gone and thanked her.
She taught me how to hold grudges, and then later how to milk that for comedy.
That's exactly right. So now, are you coming from the shed? Are we in the comedy shed right now?
No, this is my dining room because like I said, my kids are home today because they're sick, and my older one's watching the younger one. But I want them within earshot. You know?
I was going to say that is probably
yeah, this is
the nicest shed I've ever seen.
Just,
2 fans in one shed.
it is. I'm doing it from here because like the whole point of the shed was when we went into lockdown and I started doing virtual shows. Yeah. My house isn't that big, so I'm like, there's not like a room in my house that I can go to that I know will still be quiet or they won't come crashing through. So there's a not 0% chance my kids make a guest appearance. But
that has happened all too many times here on the show, so
yeah.
don't worry about it.
If I'm doing like a corporate Zoom gig or something, like I don't want a kid crashing it. So I'm like, I need a separate building with a door and a lock. Like most of December 2021, I was just like sitting in a shed in my yard doing virtual shows all day. Because like when you do corporate gigs, they don't care what time it is. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do it at 2 p.m. What better time for comedy on the air?
No better time for comedy, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, life is weird. I did this company a friend of mine helps run called Laughter on Call. And they work with Alzheimer's patients is like part of it. The other part of the gig is they do like corporate events as well. Mm-hmm. So I helped them with a corporate event, and because I was a bartender for 10, 15 years. And so they were like, we want you to virtual bartend. And I was like, excuse me?
Just describe what this tastes like to people.
Yeah. I was like, I don't understand. And so the idea was everyone was virtual. It was deep in the pandemic. I had the kids, and my wife I think she like took them out of the house because we realized the only place that would work to film was in my kitchen. Got the ring light. Everything is just everything just off camera looks like a Wile E. Coyote. Any of this is going to fall down and kill you.
That's what I'm
at any second. But to them in the camera, it was a slick setup.
So you talk about you brought your daughter onto stage with you. Both of your kids know you're a stand-up comedian?
Yes.
Now the all-important question, is Dad funny?
Not to them, no.
Yeah.
Especially my 5-year-old, she regularly tells me not only that I am not funny, but she is funnier than me, and that she doesn't
that might be true.
Why people give me money to tell them jokes.
Oh, my God.
Like, just out of nowhere. I do... my favorite dad joke that I've come up with is when I help her get changed, I will like take her shirt off, whatever shirt she's wearing, then goes on top of my head, and I ask her if she likes my new hat. And she hates it. And she's like, that's not funny. I'm like, I know, but the fact that you don't think it's funny makes it funny to me.
Makes it so funny.
People forget that's the essence of a dad joke.
Yeah, that's right.
The essence is the kid has to hate it.
It's not supposed to be. Yeah. What's funny is irritating your child. That's where the true joy lies.
From an innocent place. Like when we sit down to dinner, I will always hand out the napkins. And one day I did napkin on your head, napkin on your head, napkin on you. Just put it on everybody's heads. Kids thought it was hilarious. So what do? Do that every single time.
Yeah.
Now to the point where my daughter like yanks it off her head. She's like, stop putting the napkin on my head. I don't like that.
Come on, some new material. You've been doing this bit for months.
Yeah. It's called. I'm perfecting it.
Yeah, you really got to work out the timing.
No way to become more humble about your comedy and your career than a 5-year-old child who knows nothing about the industry.
She has been asking me to bring her with me to show or bring her with me to shows. Because last summer I brought my older daughter, who was 9 at the time. I was doing a chicken festival in Nebraska because my career is thriving. And I'm like, oh, well, she was getting that age where she's like learning about states in school. And she's like, what states have you been to? What ones have you done shows in? Like, what states have I been to? And it's like, let's cross a couple new ones off the list. You want to drive to Nebraska with me? It was like in the summer, so she was off from school. It ended up being like, it got extended because of car trouble, but it ended up being like a 1.5 week trip where, she got to see some new states. But the whole trip, all I had to do was tell jokes for 1 hour. Like, it wasn't a tour. I was just going there for one show. Yeah. And everywhere we stopped, people were like, oh, you're on a trip with your dad? Like, that's great. What's been your favorite part of the trip? She never had an answer because we went to all the museums in Chicago. We stopped in Fort Wayne, Indiana for a night. Like, I was throwing a lot of stuff at her. So she never had an answer for her favorite thing, but nobody was like, hey, what's been your least favorite part of this trip? Because it 100% would have been, oh, when I had to watch him tell jokes about me for an hour. That was actually the worst part. Because it was at the Chicken Festival. It was like a street fair. I was performing on like one of those stages that folds up into like an Optimus Prime like semi truck.
Yeah.
So they just parked that in the middle of downtown, opened it up, and the show was there. And there were
the
bounce
comedian
houses.
comes out.
Yeah, I was inside the whole time.
Yeah.
But there were bounce houses set up at like this street fair, and she's like, "Can I go in the bounce houses?" I'm like, "Well, for a little bit, but then I got to go check in and do this show. We'll go we'll go in more after the show." But they took them all down during the show.
Oh man!
So she has not forgiven me. That was over a year ago.
She was just hiding behind her turkey leg while you were performing.
Yeah, she's like, "Can I go in them?" I was like, "No, because I'm the only person in Nebraska right now. I'm gonna need you to stay where I can see you.
Yeah,
like if I lose sight of you, I'm shutting down the show."
All your jokes are just slower. You're just like, so when people say, "Hi, Mr. Tickle," she's right there. Okay. Anyway,
I was going to start doing crowd work. Be like, "Hey, have you seen my kid recently? Did you see where that little girl? I think she had a My Little Pony shirt on. Do you know where? Did you see her go anywhere?" But yeah, they took him down. We did stay because it was like a couple-day event, and we were staying with friends of mine in Nebraska. So like we went to just go to the festival the next day, and they set the bounce houses back up, and. Okay. It was like 100. It was miserable, but I'm like, I can't tell her no again. So I was just sweating it out with my friend. He did win. My friend did win the Wayne Chicken Days chicken legs contest because he's got scrawny little legs.
Oh,
or scrawny big legs. He's like 7 feet tall. He's huge.
Yeah, I didn't until you explained that he has skinny legs. Not sure what the contest was.
Yeah. Well, they do another one where it's a chicken calling contest. And when Carson hosted the Tonight Show, he used to bring the winner of it on the Tonight Show every year. Because Wayne, Nebraska,
do that.
Yeah, it's near Norfolk, Nebraska, where Carson's from. And after, I think it was the same dude won it like 3 or 4 years in a row, they stopped having him on. Because they're like, we've already covered all the chicken questions we have for you, man. Like, I don't know.
I like that it had to take 3 times for them to go, what are we going to talk to you about?
Yeah, this one guy just got really good at it, and he held the crown for years. And I forget
the Joey
when he died.
Chestnut of chicken calling.
Yeah, but that's when that dude died. That's when like the competition really took off again. They were trying to get me to do it. I'm like, absolutely not. I can't think of anything more embarrassing. But they thought, like, oh, you're a comic. Like, it's a fun, silly thing to do. I was like, I'm not a fun, silly comic.
You should go up there with a microphone and try to like call a chicken on a phone, and I struggle to find the number until everybody boos you off stage.
That would be it.
That's your bit.
I would call my wife and check on her chickens. And be like, what are they still? Do we still have them? Because that's weird, right? Like, it's wild that we do.
Can I talk to one of them? It's kind of important.
Yeah, can you put Ramona on the phone?
I really need to talk to one of the chickens, like right now.
I had to try to like wrangle one of them once because I let them out to run around the yard, but then I had to leave for a show, and one of them wasn't cooperating, going back into the chicken coop. So it was just like a full-on, just like cartoon old man chasing a chicken around his backyard, trying to get it in a cage for like 20 minutes before I finally texted her. I'm like, I'm giving it 2 more minutes, and then otherwise the chicken's just staying out because I got to go. And she finally like. When I had given up, she walked back in on her own to go.
Oh, what a troll job!
Yeah,
what
like,
an absolute
you're just
troll
doing
job.
that because you don't like me. That was just on purpose. She just had to let me know that they don't respect me. They like my wife better, which is true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When did you start doing comedy? And who were your, who were the comedians when you growing up that you thought like, that's what I want to do? That's the funniest person to me.
Steve Martin on the Muppet Show. My grandparents had that on VHS, and every time I went over there, that's what I would want to watch. And in the episode, the premise of the episode is he shows up to do the show, but Kermit double booked the theater because he needed to audition new acts. And he's like, "Well, I'm here, so like I'll do it anyway." Like he just kept coming up to audition, and they're like, "Steve, you've got the job. Just come back next week and do the show. Like you don't have to keep doing it." But it was like so clear that like no, he does. He needs to do it.
He needs it.
And then anytime they auditioned another comedian, like Fozzie would get really like sweaty because he thought Kermit was going to replace him on the show. And I think Piggy was getting jealous of any of the girl singers. And I'm like, yeah, I love all of this. Like, because I was a big fan of the Muppets as a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love like the meta, like behind the scenes premise of that show. But then especially that episode, they're like, well, yeah, like we have to audition puppets. Where else are we going to find them? They come to the theater and they try out.
Yep.
But it wasn't until I started doing it in 2009. I was a couple years out of college. I did one open mic in college, but I don't really count that because I didn't like prepare anything because I didn't really understand what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
That one bad. That one went real bad. In 2009, it went fine. Like I didn't like crush or anything, but I planned ahead. I wrote some jokes. Because if that one also went bad, I wouldn't have done it again.
Right.
Like, I would have stopped.
No results.
But it's like there's a few things in life like this, I think, that are, I don't know if you play golf, but it's similar to golf and what people think of golf. It's like you can go up there for like, 5 minutes and bomb for 4 minutes and 55 seconds. But if you tell one joke that makes a bunch of people laugh, same thing in golf. Like you're terrible and you hit one good shot, you're like, I think I want to do this again next week. It's like something that like kind of sparks that need. I need to do this more.
You need like a certain level of delusion to be like, I'm the one that everyone in this room should be listening to right now, right? Like everyone should stop talking and hear my thoughts.
Yeah.
It is such a wild premise for a job.
Yeah.
Let's jump into some dumb dad moments. Now, Glenn, I'm not sure if you're familiar. We do dumb dad moments on the podcast. Stupid stuff we do as dads. If you've got, we can start really quick, but if you've got one that you like, an all-timer that maybe your wife won't ever let go of or something, you can tell us that story.
Or you won't let go of.
My dumb dad moment this week was this weekend, and it was it's one of those things where like you plan ahead so far for something you're really excited about. Doesn't matter how much effort you put into the planning of things, not going to go well exactly. And that's not that it's not going to go well, but it's not going to go how you planned it.
Okay.
So a couple of months ago, when the kids start going to school, you get the school schedule, like the days they're going to have off of school and everything. And we're lucky enough. We live in Southern California. We live close to Universal Studios. So we thought we should pick one of the days that, like the Monday, they're not going to be in school. We should do like, and once in a while we go, to like for a day or something. We thought, let's do like a staycation where we go stay in like a hotel close to the park with the kids. They'll just think it's super exciting. And then we'll go to the park the next day. Mm-hmm. So my wife's schedule is like, that's the day we're going to do it. Planned out. It's great. So all in all, it was fun. We had a great time this weekend. But when we get to the hotel on Sunday, like afternoon, and we're thinking like, okay, so tomorrow we're going to get up early. Now here's the thing too, for people that don't know, in Universal Studios, they just released like Super Mario World, which is like a huge deal. And has been a huge deal. And we've been a couple times, and it's really fun. They did a great job with the space down there. But there's a cafe that you can eat like lunch and dinner in.
There's a dad response.
It is a dad response.
I just want you guys to know you did a good job, all right? Is there someone I can talk to? I just want to tell them.
I got to shake somebody's hand about this.
I went to shake one of the green pipes. I thought it was going to wobble. It's in there. I just want to say really good work.
Sturdy build. You guys did good work.
Such an unnecessary detail.
Yeah. So we're trying so hard to get into, like, we want to like eat inside Toadstool Cafe. But like when you go there, it's like, are there any reservations? Like, no, there's no reservation. Like you cannot get in there. So we're thinking like, is there a way you can get like early entrance to the park, and then we like run down there and get the reservation? So that was kind of the whole plan. Like we'll try to make it so that we can take the kids there and eat inside this cafe. So like it all starts the night before. We're in the hotel, and it's like, okay, we're gonna get up at like 5:15 in the morning because you got to get over there by like 6:30 if we want coffee and like all this stuff. And biggest dumb dad moment was like the kids are going, I want to sleep with daddy. I want to sleep with mommy. Like there's 2 beds in the hotel room, And we were like, okay, huge mistake. Like my son sleeping next to me all night long was just like the elbows and the knees and the heels in my back. The healing in my back,
They're just all made of just various spears.
Yeah. And so I wake up in the morning, My neck is like, it's still right now sitting here like super tight because the pillow was like, it was like tissues shoved into a, like my neck hurts so bad. He's kicking me all night long, yanking the blankets off me. The alarm goes off at 5:15 and I'm like already over it.
Like, this story sounds so stressful. Like, you haven't even gotten to the theme park yet.
I haven't even gotten there, man. And it was like,
how close are you to traveling with your own pillow? Because I feel like every time you stay at a hotel, you're like, oh, God, I woke up is the worst.
I'm there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You do?
He knows. I mean,
yeah.
I probably should have. I mean, it's like, it's like a 15-20 minute drive down to Universal Studios, but we thought like it'll be, like I said, a fun staycation. We'll just stay in the hotel that night. It'll be fun. It was fun. Probably should have thrown a pillow in the back. I mean, I didn't anticipate that part of it. That's on me. Mm-hmm. But man, I tell you, it was hilarious. And then it all winds down to like, when we bought the tickets, this isn't necessarily like a dumb mom moment or a dumb parenting moment. It's like a dumb Universal moment.
Sounds like a dumb mom moment. He's trying to cover his tracks. This is what this
When we
sounds
bought
like.
the tickets, it was like early entrance. You get in an hour before everybody else, right? And that's at 7 a.m. And so we get there, and it's like, we get there like 6:45. We're kind of walking up, and we're like, all right, this is great. There's like not that many people here. This is going to work. Like, we're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
We get there. We're like standing in line. It's 7. My wife's like, technically, we're supposed to be down in Mario at 7. Like, and you got to go down like 5 escalator sets and everything to go all the way down to the bottom of this thing. So I was like, why aren't they opening the park? Now it's 7:05. Now it's 7:10. And everyone there, now there's like 200 people outside, and everyone's kind of looking at their reservations like, wow, what's going on? All this murmuring. Finally, somebody comes, and it's like, we noticed it says like park hours, 9 a.m. to whatever. And it was like, they changed the park hours after the fact that we had bought these tickets. So early entrance was at 8, not 7.
Yeah, so that is their fault, not yours.
That's their fault.
It is their fault, but all the other parents around are like, oh, God. And then our fault, considering my kids are like, I'm hungry. I need to go to the bathroom. Why aren't they opening the park?
Standing around outside of the theme park for like an hour and a half,
like,
just killing time.
Why are we? It was just like, basically all this means is we could have slept for another hour.
Yeah.
and we didn't.
Would you have?
Well, no, I would have been kicked for another hour.
You would have gotten kicked in the head for another 28 minutes.
So just like,
It wouldn't work if you were there for another hour.
It was fine. We had a great day. They were great. They walked all over the place, didn't complain too much, so it was fun. But it was like, man, those moments where you think you got it all dialed in, still not going to go the way you think it's going to go. Even though, like, we planned so far ahead of time. 7 a.m., boom, we're there. We're doing it. We're night before, sleeping now. Nope. Didn't happen. That was my dumb dad moment. Just thinking things might go your way if you plan for them to happen that way. No,
See, the move is to get all the other parents riled up and be like, we should all talk to the manager. Yeah, right? We're going to talk to the manager as soon as this open. But then the second the gates open, you ditch and you go to Mario World while they're waiting for the manager. And then you kind of have the park to yourself for a little bit. Well, all the other parents who have
Brilliant crap.
basically to say the same thing, but they just want to say it. You just really need one person.
Yeah.
That somebody's like, I just want to repeat what they said so I can feel better.
I agree with the last 20 people who told you the same thing.
All in all, it was really fun.
This is ridiculous.
We did get to eat at Toadstool Cafe. It was very good. It wasn't. I was always all set up to be like, the food sucks and we didn't like it. It was very fun. And then like we leave there. My son's like, we should really do this more often. And my wife was like,
we're never doing this again. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. I hope you enjoyed that.
Toadstool Cafe.
Yeah, exactly. It was so hard to get in here, and it took everything it took to get to this point. I hope you enjoyed it, because it's not happening anymore.
How was the cream of
my kids are aware of the Disney's World and Land now. And every day it's like, hey, can we go to Disney? I'm like, we live real far from both of those places.
Super far, yeah.
So like maybe we live pretty close to Sesame Place. Where we brought my older daughter a lot when she was young, but then the pandemic hit, so we weren't like hanging out in theme parks for a while. Yeah, and my younger daughter just never really took to Sesame Street as much as the older one. So she's like, "Oh, you want to go hang out with Elmo?" She's like, "I don't know him. I don't care. I don't need that guy in my life." I'm like, "You're right. He's annoying, but like I want to go see my friend Telly. So like, can we go? It's an hour from our house. We don't have to fly because we've done that. We've gotten a hotel." This was years ago, but friends of mine were coming in, and they were like big theme park people.
Yeah.
So they just like travel the country, going to different ones. They were going to be in town, and they're like, oh, they're doing a thing where you get, I think it was 4 days at the park, 3 nights at a hotel, and like some meal vouchers at the park or something for not a lot of money. So we're like, I mean, it's an hour away, so we wouldn't get a hotel normally, but like, sure, we'll go and like we'll hang out with them. We get down there. First night, we don't even go to the park. We just check into the hotel, take the kids to the pool. They're having a great time.
Yeah.
Next day, we go to the park. We're like, all right, well, there's water rides, and then there's like rides. So we'll do like water rides today, but there's not a lot of water rides. So after like 2 or 3 hours, the kid's like, I don't want to be in the water anymore. Can we go to the other side? And we're like, okay. So we do that. And the next day, she's like, well, we're going back to the park, right? And it's like, well, we kind of already did everything. Yeah. So we can. And it was like by lunchtime, we're like, yeah, you want to go on this a 9th time? And it's there's a show, like there's an Elmo show that you can go watch, and it's like we could go see it again. It's going to be the same one. It's not a big park. Like it is a fun afternoon. It is not a 4-day adventure.
There's one in San Diego.
No, yeah, that can't be said at any Disney park. As do you want to do this for a 9th time?
Yeah.
No. You get to go to 3 rides in 12 hours.
That's the real reason I don't want to go, is like just the logistics of it all. It sounds like you have to plan so much. Unless you live right there and you're going all the time, it's like, no, this is going to be like a big trip for these kids. And
it's a big trip, yeah, and it's easy to put pressure on yourself to think like, how are we going to make sure we do all of this? And then you start doing like, we're going to get there when it opens and we're going to close the park, but like your kids can't do that. I mean,
no, these fools can't hang. They're going to be done by 4 o'clock.
I mean, let me tell you right now, man,
do everything.
Your knees can't hang either. Like yesterday, it was like about 3 o'clock. I was like, I'm feeling pretty good. I could have gone a little bit more, but I bet if I was another 30 minutes that I've been going, my dogs are barking, we need to leave.
Yeah.
You start thinking about the shoes you're going to wear. That's when you know you're like an old dad now.
Yeah.
We did try to take them. We did a similar thing where we're like, oh, we'll go on a Monday when you guys have off from school, but the other schools don't. Because they go to Catholic school, so like the calendars don't always line up. So it's like, oh, you guys are going to be off. But we get down there and the park was closed. We didn't even think to check. It was just like, oh, yeah, we'll go. Because it's like it's about an hour, so it's like not that. And we're telling them like, oh, we're gonna go. No one's gonna be there. You're gonna have the run of this place. It's gonna be incredible.
You were right. Nobody was there.
No one was there. Correct. Absolutely no one. Like my older daughter was pretty upset. My younger daughter was like a toddler. She didn't know what was going on. We ended up going to like an outdoor sculpture garden here in Jersey, which my older daughter had been to once and was like asking. She's like, when can we go back? And we're like, whenever. I don't know. It's right there.
Right now, actually.
Right? Yeah, actually. So guess what? That's the
to go
real
to a
surprise.
theme park, but how about that sculpture garden?
This was a misdirect. We wanted to get you all excited with Sesame Place for the real show, which is Grounds for Sculpture in beautiful central New Jersey. You want to go look at some art? Yeah. Thankfully, she did. The toddler bored immediately.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it was.
You promised me Elmo. These are cement.
She's like, I can't climb on any of this. None of this is
That's
talking
why it's
to
boring.
me. Me and my wife would go here for fun, maybe, but I don't.
Yeah.
My 10-year-old loves it. She still talks about going.
That's
She's like, I
hilarious.
need to go experience art. Oh, okay, yeah. And let's do that.
I need to broaden my horizon here. I got to figure it out. Kevin, what did you do this week, buddy?
Oh, you know.
Did you slip up somewhere?
Yeah. All right. So let me just preface this with it's important to note for this story that nothing that you want to do that's for your kids, like after school sports or anything, ever aligns with like the regular everyday working person.
Correct.
It's always like swim class at 3, and it's like I'm lucky enough to be a stay-at-home dad, and my wife works from home, so we can kind of navigate it. But we talk about that all the time, about how like that doesn't make sense. Like for the everyday working person who like works till 5 or whatever, it's like, well, how are we getting to the? Well, then you just can't. Having said that, when it does work out for the people that have to go into work, it annoys me because my daughter. I thought about this yesterday. My daughter has she's doing baseball, And it's nice. It's this class that she's taking. It's kind of like a class essentially. There's not teams. It's literally just like very one-on-one, learning all of the basics of baseball. It's really great through our Parks and Rec. And it's from 6:30 to 7:30, which is super appropriate when people work the regular 9 to 5s.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it because I'm like, this is so late in the day.
Yeah,
7:30, which like that's you're approaching bedtime.
And it's Parks and Rec, so it's near like a playground and also like one of those. If you're just a casual gymnast, those like hanging iron cross rings that are just like there in case you're like, I can't afford to go to a gym, but I would love to work on my dismounts.
I do want to do some Jack LaLanne moves while I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we get out, and of course the kids are like we bring our son, and so I'm just like playing catch with him, chasing him around, and my oldest, my daughter, she's doing baseball till 7:30. Then they're done, and they're both like, oh, we want to play, and we're like, we have to go to bed. Like,
Yeah.
we're like already immediately aggressive of like, get to the car.
Yeah, dinner is in your car seat.
Like, that's the other thing. We have to do dinner earlier than we normally do. Granted, we do dinner. We're animals. We do dinner so late in our house every night. It's always just dangerously close to like eat dinner, bath, books, bed. Like
That's pretty much where
there's
we
no
are.
window.
Yeah.
There's no window gap of like, yeah, you guys can play for a bit. It's like eat faster.
It depends on the night, because now that like my kid's getting older and there's more activities on the table, it is like my schedule is pretty unpredictable. My wife's is like pretty steady, but she works like her schedule staggers one night a week. So like she has a late night. Sometimes she has to like do events. She's a librarian, so like she's got to like cover events there. But then it's like, oh yeah, my kid also now she's got soccer and this after school club, and she's playing in the band, and it's like you're busier than either of us at this point, honestly.
Yeah.
And
and that's what it is.
The managing of it all is maddening. Like the sketch you guys do with the assistant, I'm like, I would love that, actually.
It'd be nice. I would take the condescending attitude over knowing
Yeah,
what happens today.
That's
that
all
would
I
be
need.
nice. So yesterday was a holiday, so the kids had off of school. So my wife does not, and I was like, all right, I get the kids out of the house. So we're just like running around doing things, and I was like, all right, we'll go to this playground from this time to this time, and then come home and make them dinner, and then we'll go to baseball at 6:30. So we got to eat dinner at 5 like normal folk.
Like our grandparents.
What is this, Norman Rockwell painting? So, as life is with a parent, of course, we're running late. Of like just the day is just, of course, getting behind us. And I told my wife we're going to take them to Rainbow Park. And the kids got excited about Rainbow Park because that's what you call your parks when you have kids. Anybody who's like, Jesse Owens Park, I was like, I don't know where that is.
We got Dinosaur Park, we got Zipline Park.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are your
exactly.
choices.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't great. We have Blue Park. What? But I know what it is. I know what it is. So I was like, we're going to go to Rainbow Park. And the kids were like, great. Sounds awesome. And running out of time. Rainbow Park is very far away. It is like 25 minutes north. But it was one of the playgrounds we discovered when like playgrounds were, I don't know if you had this, Glenn, but in California during the pandemic, you couldn't even go on playgrounds. Was that a thing as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when the pandemic was still happening, nobody was going anywhere, but then we got playgrounds back briefly. Then we started exploring, and we ended up apparently a half hour north, and it became, of course, one of the kids' favorites.
Right.
They can't like the 5 minutes.
You
up
can't like
the
the one
road.
you walk to. Of course.
Yeah,
not. That would be
exactly.
ridiculous.
Insane. So they got all excited about it, and then I'm driving there, and I'm passing like. I know I'm passing like 3 playgrounds on the way to Rainbow Park. And I think to myself, if I stopped now, they could play for like an hour and a half. But if I go to Rainbow Park, it's a tight 45.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because
You're just pointing them out to the kids as you go by. You're like, oh, that one looks fun. Look at that. They got a big slide on that one. You want to go that one instead?
No, rainbow.
No, and I did
rainbow or bust.
And we did rainbow with my dumb lizard brain, and it was a typical thing that happens with kids where we get there and I do the dad turn around in the seat. All right, guys, listen up. We're gonna go to this playground, but we have to leave in like 45 minutes. I'll give you guys warnings, but I need you to be good listeners. And they're just like side-eyeing the playground going, yeah, absolutely. Whatever you say, man.
Stop talking and open the door.
Yeah.
We don't understand
if
time.
We only have 45. Why are you talking? Why the speech?
Stop eating up with this nonsense. We got to go.
State of the Union. Let us go play.
We're not going to listen anyway. Just open the door.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what happened. It was me carrying my youngest who was upset. And luckily the oldest was very cooperative because it was for her. Like, it was like, we have to go so you can go to baseball. And my son is like, leave me here. Come back tomorrow.
I live at the Rainbow Park now.
So it was like a tight 45. But, of course, it should have actually been 35 because the time where you go, all right, guys, we have to leave. Idiot. You got to give them at least 10 minutes or so because then they're like.
You got to tell them at 35.
Because then they like one of them will be cooperative out the gate, but that's always the one who doesn't have shoes on and doesn't know where they took them off.
Right.
So in the time that it takes you guys to now go have a search party, linking arms, looking for shoes, they've drifted off, and now they don't want to be cooperative anymore. And we get into the car, we're driving. I route us home because I'm driving home at rush hour in L.A., and I realized to myself, we're going to have like 30 minutes to eat.
Yeah,
and then we
that's
got
always,
like
sports nights are just, I don't know, you eat something in the car on the way, hope that's enough. Like it throws everything off.
We're only on week 2. That's the future. That is gonna happen. That they are just like, hey guys, lunch for dinner. Here's your lunch boxes from school.
Yeah.
The stuff you didn't
exact
finish.
Ones. Yeah. The strawberries are a warm puree now.
You got to adapt the comedian, stand-up comedian. So you just like give them the light, give them the light at the park.
I start waving my phone from the back of the room. They're like, we don't know what that is. We don't know that one actually. It
means you have 5 minutes. It means
wrap it up.
Yeah, let's go.
You're better off doing it like with like trying to get a dog into a kennel. Just turn on like the iPad with the door open and just kind of throw it in. And when they get in, you shut the door.
Telling them they can do something on the iPad has been like been the good bribe lately.
It's been a very good bribe.
Yeah. All right, Glenn, give us a dumb dad moment, man. You've been a dad. Sure. Your kids are older. You've got something in there.
My whole career is telling stories about dumb things I do as a parent. So
same.
You're familiar with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, right?
Yes.
The classic film from when we were children. I mentioned that at lunch with my kids the other day, that there was a movie where kids get shrunk real small, and they're like, that sounds really fun. And I was like, it is. It's great. I love that movie. And they're like, can we watch it? So that night, I was like, yeah, we'll throw on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. My younger one goes to bed earlier. So I was like, well, you can watch like half the movie, but then it's going to be bedtime. We can finish watching it tomorrow. So we put it on. Me and the 2 kids are watching it. And the part right before, I was like, all right, I tell my daughter, I was like, you got about 5 minutes more, and then it's going to be bedtime. So the part where they get shrunk, she thinks it's hilarious. They're in the backyard, and then a bee
Not
comes.
so much.
And the like picks up the one kid, and the other kid like dives on the bee's back, and they're flying around. One of the most exciting parts of the movie. But my children are terrified of bees. So the fact that I was introducing one 40 times her relative size, and then I'm like, yep, bedtime. I'm like, well, I was like, well, God, what happens next? Like, is there a like comforting part? Nope, because then it's pretty much right into the sprinklers, and then the girl almost drowns. It's like, oh, I had to like assure her, because she asked me before the movie started. She's like, are there any scary parts? So I knew the bee thing was in there. I was like, there's some that like you might think are a little scary, but I promise you, at the end of this movie, everything's okay. The kids get unshrunk, the parents find them, everything works out in the end. But just the timing of when that scene happened, and then I was like, well, you got to get some sleep, kid. Have fun having nightmares about giant bees for the rest of your life.
About giant bees.
Yeah, and it's like, do I just let her stay up to like just see the resolution?
But then she has to get to the part where the dad almost chomps down on his children.
That was the thing. It's like
crushing their bones between his teeth. His own
I
children.
either have to keep her up for the rest of the movie, or we just pull the ripcord now and hope it's not that dramatic. Which is what I ended up doing, because it's like, God, the girl's gonna almost drown. Mm-hmm. Then they see the giant ant, which she's also gonna be scared of, even though they do befriend the ant.
Auntie, yeah.
It's. I have a big box of the oatmeal cream pies, which I was explaining to them because they asked if they could have one. I'm like, you can. They're not actually that good. It's just I think of them so fondly because of that movie. Yeah. And it's like, you can have one. And it's like, maybe after you watch this, you'll want one more. Because that's probably the only reason I ever think to eat them, was because when I was 9, that movie came out, and I saw one as big as a house. I was like, yeah, that's incredible. Also, great job on Little Debbie for sealing that deal, because that must have carried them through the millennium. Just that one brand deal.
I think it still does. People buy it out of nostalgia.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Every time I eat one, it's like, a little disappointing, but I will keep buying them.
That's a really good dad moment, because I've run into the same problem where you think like, this movie is money. Yeah. And it's not that the movie's not money, but my recollection of the movie is money. And let me tell you something. Scheduling, everything we got going on, I'm not going to sit down and like watch the whole movie before I show them the movie. Yeah. We're just going to watch the movie because I know the movie's really good. But the timing works out terribly for you, or something that you forgot was in there is there, or something that you didn't think was going to scare the absolute hell out of them scares them, and you're thinking like, oh, I guess my nostalgic point of view of this was a little different than
it really led into like a pretty extended discussion of like cinema special effects and like how they did like all the size stuff in the movie. And I was like explaining, because they did a lot of like behind the scenes, like there were like TV specials about the effects in that movie when we were kids. So it's like one of the things, like I ended up going to school for film, because that's the kind of stuff I loved watching as a kid. It's like, how do you make a big bee in a movie? And it's like, oh, neat. It's not a real bee. Obviously. Like, I didn't think Disney engineered a 40-foot tall bee. That would be ridiculous. But my 5-year-old has a pretty tenuous grasp on what is and isn't real. So when she's watching the movie, she's like, well, I mean, the kids got shrunk, obviously. And I'm like, well, they didn't really shrink children to make the movie. You know that, right? Yeah. And she's like, no, I assumed it says it in the title. I figured that's what happened. And it's like, well, they just put them next to like bigger stuff to make them look small. And she's like, I don't know, they look pretty tiny. It's like, all right. My 10-year-old kind of gets it like a little bit. And she, her recent hobby is her and her friend will like hang up a green screen and make videos on their phone, and they are charmingly unhinged, I will say, when she shows me the finished product. It's like, I don't know what is going on, but you guys seem really excited about this, so I'm happy for you. You got to get a giant bee in there.
Yeah. It's always dicey. Watching anything with your kids. We watched the live-action Little Mermaid with my kids, which my daughter had already seen with my wife, and she was like, "I think our youngest would love it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it's funny, the stuff that scares him is the scenes where King Triton is being mean to his daughter.
Yeah.
Like checks out, dives behind the couch, like scary dad. And I was like, uh-oh, I'm going to work on that.
I haven't seen it because I heard from a couple people that it's a little scarier than the animated one.
So that's the thing.
That one, my kids are like, no, we're not watching that one. That's got a mean octopus lady.
Yeah. Yeah, my son is a little scared of her.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you're trying to explain Divine to your children.
Yeah. All right, we have to watch a couple stuff first.
Yeah.
But then the scene with the shark, which they don't hold back on. Like if you remember at the beginning of the Little Mermaid, the cartoon, she's in the shipwreck and a shark tries to eat her. They don't hold back. It looks like a real shark, and it is an intense chase scene. Same son who is scared of King Triton just like being stern with his daughter is whooping and hollering like the craziest thing I've ever seen. He's like, "Oh, that's the biggest shark I've ever seen," and just like losing it. Like I was like, "Oh, we might be all right in this movie," because that's like the beginning. And then the dad's like, "Where have you been?" And he's like, "I'm going to bed."
Yeah, I'm always surprised what it is that scares my children.
Yeah,
where it's like, why that one?
Mm-hmm.
They told me that they were afraid of clowns, and I was like, that's hurtful because I basically am one. But also, like, they're just like, I know the guy who the local clown who would do like Cub Scout meetings and stuff when I was a kid. He and I are friends now, so he's still in the game. Sure. We'll be at like a carnival or something, and he's just walking around, and they're like, "Oh, we're scared of the clowns." I'm like, "That's just Daddy's friend Neil. Like, it's fine. He's not. Yeah. He just paints his face all silly and does magic tricks. Like, you've met him, you know Neil." And they're like, "Not with that face. We don't."
Yeah, he's hiding from something. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So, Are You Afraid of the Dark? They took the clown's nose. He's smoking cigars, chasing them. I get it.
It only takes a couple of portrayals or a viewing of it, and then that's the end of every.
It just takes an it poster.
Let me introduce you to my friend Tim Curry and see. Yeah. We'll clear this right up.
Well, like, so when we go to Universal Studios, and it's like they're setting up for Halloween Horror Nights, which
they
lean into.
Yeah.
Hollywood cinema, it's like a thing here, and it's like they clear the park out, they set up, and people get tickets to like specifically go in late at night, and it's like they got zombies and stuff meandering in the audience and everything. So of course we're not taking the kids at night, but they were setting that up when we went over to Universal City Walk for dinner the night before.
Yeah.
So we're over there watching it get set up, and there's people just like pouring into the park at like 7 p.m. or like we're leaving from dinner that night at like 7:30 or whatever. 8 o'clock, and like you could see all the people that are like going into it.
Yeah.
And so when we were at the park the next day, they don't have any of that going on during the day, but they do have some stuff that's like set up. And like we're walking into the park yesterday, there's like these two like I don't even know what this thing is. It looks like a monster. There's like a monster that's like it doesn't even have eyes. It's like this huge special effect thing that's like 10 feet tall. And like towering over, it's got veins and stretching out of its neck like this huge monster, like that's got its like big wrinkly long fingers over like a pile of stuffed animals. So the whole time, like we're walking past, we're like, guys, look at that, whatever, just look over there. That's where they're trying to pass this thing. Like, don't look over there.
My Halloween decorations are starting to go up around here, and there'll be like a 12-foot skeleton. Some of them, my 5-year-old thinks are hilarious, and then other times he's like, "Drive a different way. Like, don't go this way to Mimi's house."
That's a good instinct for a horror movie. That's a good instinct.
And it's like
go the other way.
It's like the same skeleton in a different pose. It's like I don't know why one is hilarious. Yeah. Our neighbors have it's like a pumpkin head that like has a scary face and like a Grim Reaper robe on that they hang from the tree in their front yard. And my daughter loves this thing. We have to walk down the street to go say hi to it. She named it Spooky, and we'll just be hanging out, and she'll be like, "I'm gonna go check in on Spooky," and we have to like walk a block down the street so she can go see her weird pumpkin friend. But Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is too scary, and it's like I don't know. I don't know. Yet.
I don't know how to navigate through being a parent anymore. I don't understand what is real
and
not real, and what's funny. None of this makes sense in any way.
Things we've definitely said. I don't get you guys.
I don't get you guys. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it. Glenn, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell people where we can find you.
Sure. The new special is Glen Tickle Against the World Crime League. It's up on YouTube, or if you just go to glentickle.com, everything is on there. Nice. You can watch other specials and albums are there as well. But
is it at Glen Tickle on all social?
Yes. Yeah. Because there's only 2 other Glen Tickles in the world, and they don't care about getting the handle as much as I do. So I
get it.
I snaked them on everything. I will sign up for every new social media thing just to stop those 2 guys from having it.
Yeah,
and they don't care. It's not, It's not like a new one comes out and they're like, "Oh, he did it again." They're like, "We're adults. Like we don't care about social media as much as you do," which is a lot. It's arguably too much.
Yeah, you got to leverage it, man. We did the same thing when we first started. We were like, okay, we got to make sure we have our handle on all these things. We had it on Twitter, and then one of the things we did blew up on Twitter more than anything else. And we're like, oh man, are we supposed to be tweeting now?
Yeah,
I don't know what to do about this.
I bailed on that one, but I think I'm everywhere else as just at Glen Tickle or whatever. However you follow people on Blue Sky and Mastodon, you'll find me. I don't know. I don't really use them, but I'm on there.
Hey, that sounds good, man. And before we go, we always like to tell a dad joke.
Yeah.
And, we're not going to pass up the opportunity. We got a dad comedian on the podcast. Tell us your favorite dad joke.
This is my absolute favorite one. It is seasonally appropriate. Why did the Scarecrow get a promotion? He's outstanding in his field.
In his field, yeah. That's a good one.
I love it so much.
That's a good one. That's a good one because it's a smart enough joke to where you tell it to your kids and they're like,
kids, it's great because kids don't understand what promotion. I don't know what outstanding. I don't know what any of this is.
And you're like, yeah, that's why it's good.
Because he's great. Because he's a great scarecrow. Like, well, but there's not tiers to that job. It's not. Is he the supervisor now? I don't understand.
He didn't even apply.
That's right.
He's just out there.
All right, Glenn. Thanks so much. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
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 Welcome to the world, little one. Welcome to life.
How do I stop this?